And so we go from celebrating my birthday to celebrating 40k subs, and now celebrating Global's first anniversary for Zero. Happy first birthday. You are now 1 year old. You can probably walk by now. Very cool. You can walk on your own 2 legs. And of course, with the first anniversary, there is a website. I'll leave a link in the description. You can look through everything that's happening for the first anniversary. You know, they're doing like the first anniversary medals. I've talked about this quite a lot on my streams and stuff, where you basically get to, for every 50 packs you open, you get to exchange for 1 triple rare, both from existing banners and past banners. So you can use this to actually finish up some decks or build some new decks in general if you plan to open a lot of packs. You also generally get a lot of packs, but also players who haven't logged in since January 1st, which is really unfortunate because my brother just got back into the game like a couple days ago and I should have told him to just wait a little bit more. Get 50 bonus tickets, and then of course everybody else also gets, you know, regular tickets as I think like in JP they gave us a total of 100 tickets overall throughout the entire month. So they don't say it on the website, but if it's anything to go by on JP, you get about 100 free tickets throughout this entire period, including the free ones that you get once the actual gacha starts. There's also the anniversary gacha campaign where you get old cards and stuff like that. That one I wasn't a big fan of, but I've covered all this stuff in the past already, you know, when I talked about it on the JP side. There's a lot of really cool stuff that they do for the first anniversary, so you can check it out there. I'll try to find that video and leave a link in the description so you can see a kind of summary of everything. But today we're going to talk about the new set 14, Catastrophic Outbreak, that is coming out tomorrow for the global server. Of course, in the JP server, we are on set 17, the final set of the Link Joker season. I will be opening about 250-ish packs. I'm not actually sure. I haven't decided yet, because I do want to build, well, update Revengers and maybe build Glendios and the Rebirth. I'm not too sure yet. But regardless, you can see all the action on my Twitch tomorrow morning. It won't be as early as usual because lately it's been really good weather and I've been enjoying going on walks in the morning. So as soon as I'm back, I'll probably turn on the stream and we're gonna go through these packs and try to build some of the decks and get testing. But anyway, let's talk about the cards in set 14. So the supported clans are Novas, Aqua Force, Link Joker, Dimension Police, and Angel Feather. So we're going to go in the order that they appear on the actual, you know, interface. So we'll go through Angels first. It's probably the fastest one to go through as well. So there is a new starter, which is the, well, Gadel, yeah. At the beginning of your right phase, if your Vanguard is grade 2 or higher, and if you have 4 or less damage, cost 1, put this into your soul, and then put the top card of your deck into your damage zone. At the end of that turn, put a random card back into your damage zone, prioritizing face down. So basically, it's a self-damager in an interesting way as a starter, so you always have it, and you can, like, because it's the beginning of your ride phase, and it's when you're grade 2 or higher, you basically get to, like, if your opponent denies your break ride, you can use this to just, like, break ride anyway. So it's not really used, I'll be completely honest with you. It definitely isn't a very amazing card, but it is something. Other cards are the Armen support. So during your turn, if you have an Armen in your damage zone, whether face up or face down, for each one that you have in your damage zone, plus 2k. Nothing too super special, but the good card here is of course the Narelle. Wow, it's like super dark outside, but the birds are still going off. So Narelle says, Breaker Circle, when placed, you can put one of your Celestials from your hand into your damage zone, and if you do, choose any card from damage zone, add it to your hand. Basically a no CL for Celestials. It's actually quite good. I definitely found this to be pretty useful when it came out. I did play this deck a fair bit when it came out, but just honestly, like, there's so many other decks to be playing that I haven't had as much time to dedicate to this one. Moving on, we have the Counterblast 2 gain 4k, nothing too special there. Then there is the Badaliel, maybe? During your turn, for each Armen in your damage zone, face up or face down, plus 2k. So same thing. I don't know why Armen is a support archetype, but of course the real good triple rare for Celestials in this set is the Danielle. She is actually really good in extending your attacks and actually making this deck be quite a menace. It's not like tier 1 or anything, but it's pretty decent, honestly, thanks to the support of cards like this. In the damage zone, during your turn, when another card is put into your damage zone, you can Counterblast 2 and call this unit, and then put the top card of your deck into your damage zone. If you called it from face down, then you put the top card of your deck face down instead of face up. So she's basically a extender. So when you use the Air, for example, to like on hit, call something, you know, put herself in the damage zone, call something else, Danielle sees that and calls herself out. So I've covered this in the deck and fight for these decks as well, but it's definitely a great card just because of that kind of extension that she gives you, and so I think that is definitely like worth using. Then we have the Sahariel. When her attack hits, discard 1, draw 1. Just a filter card. She is a Celestial, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Oh, wait, no, I don't think she is. Hold on. This is Doreshingu Baraji. Never mind. It is not a Celestial. Moving on, though, we have the actual Armen. So during your turn, for each Armen in your damage zone, plus 2k. I don't know why. You know, why do they do this? I really don't know why they do these kind of things. Of course, the triple rare for Angel Feather in this set is the Remiel Reverse. Looks very hot. Her art is very amazing. Limerick 4, you may lock 2 of your Celestial rear guards, and if you do, for that that turn, 3 of your front row Celestials gain plus 5k, including herself, of course. And then, if you choose one of your opponent's rear guards randomly to prioritizing the back row and put into the damage zone, and then your opponent randomly puts a card prioritizing face down from your, no, I think face up actually, from the damage zone into the drop zone. So basically what this does is you lock 2 of your own rear guards, you power up your front row, you put one of their rears into their damage zone to take a card from the damage zone and put it into the drop zone. So you're basically like retiring one. That's why you should look at this. This is how you should look at it. Like, that's all. She's a crossfire with Ramiel, and the other skill that actually makes her quite fun is the fact that every time any player's card goes from the damage zone to the drop zone, she gets 5k. So if you heal, like let's say you 6 damage heal, she'll get an extra 5. And then if your opponent heals on your turn, on their own turn or whatever, on your turn, she also gains power. So like if your opponent attacks her and then heals, she will get that extra power, which is really interesting how that works. But that's probably one of her main selling points. Honestly, she's fine. So yeah, this support wave, honestly, Danielle is probably the main thing to write home about. At least she helps Zera kill. Ramiel Reverse is kind of like okay. It's not really super fantastic by any means, but it's decent is how you should look at it. And sadly, yeah, that's all she wrote. All right, shall we flick through this 3-3 Stargate clans? I can't believe all of Stargate got supported in this. Let's actually look at Aqua Force first. We'll look at Aqua Force first and then run through the Stargates, because those are definitely going to be quite lengthy to talk about. You know, my son is in this set, of course. I'm very hyped. Kaiser is always, you know, it's great to have him in both servers now. So for Aqua Force, there is that we've already had a 3rd Aqua Force wave in Break Right already, but the main thing that came in was the new starter, Bubble Edge Draco Kid. For those of you that are only 0 players or didn't play in G, hold on to this. I mean, not like you can't get rid of it or anything, but keep this card in your mind because it becomes really good later on, especially because the skill is you put into your soul to, for that turn, give one of your units the following ability. When that unit attacks a Vanguard, if it's the 4th or more battle of that turn, draw 1. There will be decks, even the one in this, you know, even Tetra Drive included, where you can actually get like 3-4 draws off of this one effect. It's pretty nuts. So this card is definitely really, really good because it enables so many draws off of one effect. Now with Tetra Drive, you can get 2. I don't want to say 3. You can get 2 with the Tidal Assault, basically, unless you actually play stands, you know, in which case, sure. But generally, you're getting, even then, it's hard timing. So normally you're going to get 2 draws off of this. But in the future, it can go way beyond that. All right, then in terms of other support, we have the during your turn, if it's the 2nd or more battle of that turn, no, if it's just the 2nd battle of that turn, gain 3k, so 9k attack. It can be a booster too. It's only specifically gains that power during that 2nd battle. So yeah, it's, I guess, something. Then we have the when it boosts, if it's the 4th or more battle of that turn, you can discard 1, draw 1, so I guess it's fine. It's a filter card, but I don't really think it's going to be run. The real good card from this set is, of course, the Wheel Assault. This is a 4 of an Aqua Force, period. It's really, really good in like every single build right now. Whether you're playing Tetra Drive or you're going to play the upcoming Reverse Maelstrom in the future, this card is just super important because it says when the boosted battle ends, counterblast 1, choose 2 rear guards and swap their positions. So for example, you can have a column of like 2 intercepts, right? 2 grade 2s. You swing with 1 grade 2 into an intercept, and then you have another column which is like anything, like let's say a grade 1 and a Wheel Assault behind it. You swing with that into another intercept, and then you use a Wheel Assault to push up that other thing behind that other intercept up, and then attack with that again. That's 3 attacks. Then you get to attack with a Vanguard, 4th attack for like Maelstrom. You redo the attack pattern a little bit for Tetra Drive, but so good. It's like you don't need to just rely on like Basil, Diamantes, or the Tidal Assault now. You can rely on Wheel Assault as well, and he's in the back row, so he won't get attacked into, which is really nice as well. So absolutely a must-have for Aqua Force, in my opinion, especially in Zero right now. Just really works well. Honestly, it just works well, so there's nothing to complain about, in my opinion. It's a really nice card. Then in grade 2s, during your turn, if it's a 2nd battle of that turn, plus 3k, same thing as before. A countercharger. I was running this quite a bit, but I saw a lot of the topping lists actually dropped it. It's just when attack hits a Vanguard, countercharge 1. It's basically the Custody Dragon. I personally like it. I liked it, but I definitely had to drop it because it just felt like in Maelstrom, there's no reason to run it because you don't counterblast much. But in Tetra Drive, I feel like you do. And so in Tetra Drive, I quite like this because that countercharge can actually really help to basically just have more cost for later. So I think it is a pretty decent card. You don't have to like prioritize it super hard because there's no telling if it's going to be run in the future or not. But if you get some, it's not bad, you know. Then Tidal Assaults. This is of course one of the, I think this is probably the longest running staple for Aqua Force that has ever existed, if not one of the longest running staples in the entire card game itself, because Tidal Assault released in this set in the TCG and it remained used until the reboot. Basically, like throughout all of G, it was used. Like, it was good in Tavas, and it was good again in Tavas, and Tavas was good for a long time. Or like, it was good, it was like best deck, and then it like, and then it became a really good deck again. So yeah, this card is amazing. I didn't even say the effect yet. Rearguard circle once per turn. At the end of the battle that attacked the Vanguard, you can stand this unit and give it minus 5k power. So it might sound like, huh, just attacks for 9 and then 4? Like, what's so good about that? Well, just like I said earlier with the starter, you can basically put that effect on him. You attack with rearguard that, like, you know, swaps or something, or attack with whatever, you know, order that does things. Then you attack with this for 4th, 5th, get 2 draws. On top of that, you can also give triggers to this guy. So he swings alone unboosted with a trigger applied for like 14, and then he restands with 9k power with a boost that's going to be like 16. So you're hitting even through a defensive, which is nice. He's not timed to any specific battle like 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, whatever. You can do this whenever you want to. And sometimes it's just that the fact that he is 2 attacks in 1 card that is really, really good. And he's an intercept, which in Zero is always going to be good. So I remember when they revealed that this card wasn't like buffed or anything, I was like, huh, really? You're going to release this as a triple rare? But it still ended up being a staple, so it is what it is, right? Then let's see, rares. When the drive check reveals a grade 3, stand the rearguard, and when boosted, gain 3k. Yeah, goodbye bird. Then we got one of these budget grade 3s, which is the Cobalt Wave Dragon. Vanguard limit break. When your rearguard attacks the Vanguard, if it's a 3rd or more battle, then for that turn, that unit gains plus 2k plus 1 crit. Well, it's not too bad. That's actually not too bad. I mean, for a budget deck, this might be fun to mess around with. I want to see more like Zero content creators do like these kind of like budget deck challenges, or like double rare only challenges and things like that, because I think cards like this could be really fun in that. If I was a Zero only channel, I would definitely do that as well. But, you know, most of my time now goes to Overdress, so don't really have time for those kind of things. But it's definitely a fun idea, especially if you're bored of ladder and like you just want to mess around with something original and new and like different, something funky, something random, something XD. And then the other effect is when attacks the Vanguard, if it's the 4th or more battle of that turn, then it gets plus 5k. So yep, gets a bit of power, pretty decent. It's okay card, nothing to be super crazy about. But of course, the main card of this set for Aqua Force is the Tetra Drive Dragon. So second skill is when it attacks the Vanguard, gains 3k. You know, keep that in mind. Then the first skill is Limerick 4 once per turn. When it attacks for that turn, gain 5k, and the following ability, so you can't heal out of it. When at the end of your rearguard's attack and that it battled, or if it's the 4th battle of that turn, specifically your rearguard attacking 4th battle of the turn, count +2, discard 2, stand this unit, draw 2. So the way you have to do this is attack with something like a rearguard first, or attack with this first, then attack with your rearguards, making it so that your rearguard attacks for the 4th time, then you pay the count +2, discard 2 to restand it. So as I said, the counter charger feels pretty good in this because you count +2 to restand. On the Transcore, by the way, on this break ride that we had previously, this is really nice because he gives that effect that when you attack the Vanguard, you rip out a card from your opponent's hand, otherwise they cannot perfect guard, and the Vanguard gains a crit. So because this attacks twice, you can actually do that twice, which is pretty good. Overall, it's a good card. If you're playing carefully, you can even play against stuff like Chaos. I've talked about in the past a fair bit that this deck can actually somewhat dance around Chaos a little bit in interesting ways. But now that people know how to play Chaos even better, I think, after watching the JP tournaments, like, you know, the Zero Championship definitely teaches a lot of people how to play decks properly. Like, I learned how to play Revengers properly in Zero, thanks to the Zero CS and things like that. So Tetra Drive, I think, definitely isn't like going to be super hyper amazing, but it's going to be a pretty good card. And for Aqua Force, it's honestly pretty strong. And against many matchups, if you know how to play it well and like not just like make bad columns, not make bad plays, because it's easy to make mistakes in this deck. Because of the way that Wheel Assault works, you can make mistakes pretty easily and just like randomly just mess up your own field for the future. You have to always be thinking a little bit like ahead rather than other decks. Like you're always thinking ahead in your own plays rather than like with other decks that you would play, like, I don't know, Kagero, like with Nouvelle and things like that. So it's definitely worth to, like, if you want to put in the time and practice, it's a pretty rewarding deck in my opinion. I really enjoyed it myself too, so I think it's quite good. But that's basically it for Aqua Force. Tetra Drive is really good, you know, basically a great card if you want to build around it. Then looking at grade 2s, of course, the counter charge I think is decent. Tidal Assault will be good forever in my opinion. It's going to be really good for a very long time. And Wheel Assault is also a super important card that I definitely think you should be picking up as well. Then moving on to the Stargate trio, I guess we'll go Novas, DP, and then Chaos, because I think Chaos will be the longest discussion to be had. So of course for Novas, Blouse came out. So Blouse have a really godlike starter, one of the best starters possible in Morganrot. Morganrot says when this unit boosts a Blau and the attack hits a Vanguard, then you count +1, look at the top 3 cards of your deck and add a Blau to your hand. let's see what kind of blows we can add. Oh, we have a perfect guard that's blow. Well, that's just fantastic. Count must want to add a blow to hand. That's great. I love it. Anime. What else can we add? Well, we can't add this, but the blade arm leprechaun. I can't remember if I played this in my deck in fight, but the deck has definitely changed for quite a few times. When you boost a blow, soul blast 1, gain 4k. Does not have blow in its name, but still nice. Then you have the Poral Stern, so this is not a blow either, but it does attack. It's a tank attacker if you have a blow Vanguard. And then there's also the Flower Ray Leprechaun. If your Vanguard is a blow and the attack hits, can almost 1, and then you can stand this unit, and if you stood him, he gains 3k. Pretty decent, I guess. No, it's not played. Let's not fool anyone here. What other things can you add with a starter though? There's a 10k vanilla that's blow. Don't forget that, well, in the past, you know, there's actual Blaukluger, who if you ride countercharges, so it makes up the cost of the starter. There's also the Mars Blaukluger, who says when your blow Vanguard attacks and the Vanguard's attack hits the opponent's Vanguard, can almost 1, stand this unit, and if you stood him, gain 3k. So you can attack with the rear into a rear, then attack with the Vanguard, hit, can almost 1, stand this, give it power and attack again. Very cool. You get to extend attacks. It's a pretty good card. I like it quite a lot. There's also 12k attacker, which is the Grossebea, which is just a 12k attacker if you have a Blau Vanguard, but it's not a Blau itself. So keep that in mind. Then moving forward, of course, to the grade 3s, we have the Pluto Blaukluger. Limerick 4 gets 5k when it attacks the Vanguard, and a Vanguard Circle when the attack hits a Vanguard, can almost 3 to stand 2 of your rear guards. It's a rare. That's what you would basically expect. Then we have the Mercury Blaukluger. When it attacks the Vanguard, limb break 4 Vanguard Circle. For that battle, gain the following ability. If the attack hits, count us 2, and then stand all of your front row Blau rear guards. So it's basically a front row restand, but as you saw with the grade 2, they already restand themselves, so you don't really need this. And then Vanguard Circle during your battle phase, when your unit stands for that turn, this unit gains plus 2k. It's like a budget card that you can play with again, but honestly the main focus is of course around Mond and Galaxy. Mond Blaukluger says when you break right over it for that turn, your Vanguard gets plus 10k, and if your Vanguard is a Blau, this might not be the same in global, by the way. This is a nerf that came out in JP. So this specifically only works with Blaus now. In the past, this worked with any Nova Grappler grade 3. So as long as you break right over it, you give it plus 10k in the following ability. When your Vanguard attacks, count plus 1, stand all of your rear guards. So y'all know probably, if you keep up with JP, that this break right is abused insanely with a card that comes out very soon, which is going to be the Immortal Ashura Kaiser. Maybe it'll come into global nerfed. I hope so, for your own sakes. But other than that, like, this break right is amazing. Like, I almost want to restand the entire board. That's so good, right? Boosters, attackers, everything, except for the Vanguard, right? It's so good. And on top of that, like, sure, this only restands rear guards, but Galaxy Blaukluger, of course, resigns itself, so you get to use this effect twice. So what is Galaxy Blaukluger's effect? Limerick 4 once per turn, when attacks for that turn, gain 5k in the following ability. Once per turn, Vanguard Circle. When your Blau's attack hits a Vanguard, count plus 2, discard 2, and then stand your entire center column and draw 2. So it's also crossfire the Stern Blaukluger. You don't really play for that though. So how this works is you break right this over Mond, you go attack rear guard, attack Vanguard. Mond's ability restands all your rear guards, then the Galaxy, let's say, hits, then you count almost 2, discard 2, restand it. Attack with rear guard, then attack with Vanguard again, use the Mond's skill again to restand the entire board, and attack with the entire board again. So that is a lot of counterblast in one turn. So of course you do explode with counterblast quite a lot, so you gotta use stuff like, you know, the Claydol mechanic and things like that. But overall, the Blau deck is definitely, I think, you know, outside of Ashura, which got nerfed, so now nobody really knows where its real power level is, I think Blaus are still one of the best Nova decks for the time being. They are just basically, they search for their own pieces, while FX has to draw into them and needs more setup than Blaus. All Blaus need is like go into the break ride and then like go across into the Galaxy Blaukluger. Any of your Blaus, whether it's Vanguard or Rearguard, hits, you get to do the restand. It's so much less setup compared to, you know, FX Buster, that is just like, it's so easy to play, honestly, and it's just a really good deck in my opinion. So that is the Nova Grappler support for this set. Moving into my children, of course, Dimension Police. So we've already had one more wave of support actually, but of course there is a new starter. I think there's 2 new starters, if I'm not mistaken. This one's also new, which is the Nekorori. So when you boost the Limit Break 4 unit at the end of that battle, put into its soul, draw 1. So yeah, Yeah, I think that's new. I think that's new. Then there's of course the Die Magnum. Put it into the soul and then give your Vanguard plus 5k. You might think this is like, oh my god, why would I put my starter into the soul just to give my Vanguard plus 5k? That's such a waste of a card. Why would I even run this? Well, there is a reason to run it, and I will tell you very soon. Moving on into the commons and rares. Let's see. We have the when it boosts Limerick 4 unit, gain 3k. Nothing special there. This one, there is of course some Zeal support. When placed on Rearguard Circle, Soul Blast 1 for that turn. One of your opponent's units loses 3k power. Any rearguards that drop to 0 power are retired. So yeah, that's Zeal support, all right. This card is of course going to be used a lot. Go Cannon. If your Vanguard is a Dayusha, put this card and another Dimensional Robo rearguard into your soul and give your Vanguard +1 crit. So you can basically turn your Great Dayusha into a crit machine. You have a crit from Great Dayusha, crit from this, crit from other sources, and you can just win the game. Very, very strong. This will remain to be used for a while, by the way, because, you know, of things in the future with, like, you know, Great Dayusha being a Legion mate and things like that. There's also 10k attacker for Dimensional Robos, which is the Die Tiger. So of course, if you have Dimensional Robo Vanguard, gains 3k. New Perfect Guard, of course, everybody likes it. And then we have Die Brave. Die Brave is a super staple in DP right now because his skill is in the soul, counter +1, put it into the drop zone to give your Vanguard the following ability. When the attack hits a Vanguard, draw 1. This is good because it's just counter +1 for draw 1. It's better than, you know, counter +2 for draw 1, which is on grade 2 body. It's just a really nice effect. If you run Laurel, you can also, like, you know, hit the Vanguard, draw, use Laurel to restand, hit the Vanguard again, draw again. So you get counter +1 for draw 2. Very cool. Thank you, Laurel. Always putting the deck on your back as always. We all appreciate it. What a god he is. But let's move on to grade 2s here. We have the, if you have Limerick 4 unit, gain 3k guy, so we can skip that. We have Die Driller on place, count +1 on rear circle. For that turn, give another Dimensional Robo plus 4k. This is actually run in the Turbo Dayusha build, which I've talked about a fair times, and everyone always comments, what is the Turbo Dayusha build? Oh my god. Here, you know what? I'm feeling nice. Here's your Turbo Dayusha build. This is the one that I ran, that actually topped, I think, or it showed up in day 1 of the Zero CS. People are trying out different kinds of builds of it, but this is one of the ones that people are running around with. Basically, you can use Die Driller to just enable Dayusha immediately, and now later on you can also enable Great Die Kaiser's countercharge with this too, which is pretty cool. Another Zeal support, which is the Bug Read. When this attacks a unit with 6k power or less and it hits, then you draw 1. So if you put your opponent's Vanguard to 6 power or less, 6k or less, then you get to draw extra cards. Pretty good card. Die Hearts is a very important card as well. This is why you run that starter that gives 5k, because he says when his attack hits a Vanguard, if his power is 13k or higher before that battle, you know, then you get to put a grade 3 Dimensional Robo from your hand into your soul to search your deck for any grade 3 Dimensional Robo and ride it as rest. So you basically get to skip ride. You also get to put a Dayusha into your soul to superior ride a Great Dayusha or Reverse Dayusha, which basically immediately guarantees cross ride. But of course, to most reliably enable this extra power, you use the starter to put it to 14, attack with it, hit, doesn't have to use Counter Blast. This used to cost to have 2 grade 3s to put into the soul from hand, so it's only 1 now, which is really, really good. So overall, it's just a really good card. And finally, we have Die Kaiser's base form, Kaizard. When you ride over it, your Vanguard gains plus 5k. This is run in Dayusha because when you ride Dayusha over this, you immediately enable that crit that it needs to have 14k power for. So it's quite good actually. It is run, and that's definitely nice to see about it as well. Then of course, let's look at the grade 3s. We have the 15k attacker on Vanguard, 12k attacker on Rearguard. Nothing too special. We have a break ride for Zeal. This is the Zero, original Saber Zero. When you break right over it, for that turn, your Vanguard gains plus 10k, and then you choose one of your opponent's units and make it have minus 8k power. If an opponent's rearguard goes down to 0 power, it is retired. And then, if your Vanguard is an alien, such as Zeal, you can search your deck for an alien and call it. So you might be thinking, oh, aliens, that's just Zeal support, right? Well, you'd be surprised because Commander Laurel is an alien. So this basically searches your deck for a Laurel. You can run just like 1 Laurel in your deck or 2 and just fetch it out with this if you're running Zeal, which is pretty nasty in my opinion. Otherwise, you just search out other Zeal support. It's a pretty fun card. I haven't really played with it too much. It has a nice SP, but yeah, Zeal support is Zeal support. But then of course, the best card ever created. Bushrod peaked with this one. They really, really did. My son, you see him all the damn time. You see him, you're gonna watch this video until the end. I'm gonna say bye-bye and do this, and then you're gonna see him. You've been seeing him for so long, and maybe you don't even know his name. Super Dimensional Robo Die Kaiser. So when you break right over him, counter 1, and your Vanguard gets power plus 10k and the crit, and the following ability that when you drive check a grade 3 for that battle, when your opponent would use a perfect guard, they need to use 2 perfect guards at the same time or they cannot. So this is an amazing ability because you basically get to keep your opponent at 3 damage, and then for example go into a Great Dayusha, which has a base crit of its own. You give it an extra crit with the Daikaiser, so it's 3 crit, attack them. If you check a greed 3, they need to use 2 PGs, otherwise you just didn't give them limit break. That's good too, otherwise you win. It's a great card. As you can see, I'm slowly working towards 4 SPs of it. It is my favorite card ever created in any card game. I absolutely love that Kaiser. It just embodies the idea of, you know, like betting on a miracle or break through, like, you know, do the impossible, break through the walls that are unbreakable. And that's just, I love that kind of flavor. And only really Vanguard can do that. Like, not many other card games can really do that because they don't have this kind of like, you know, like guarding when your opponent attacks. You use like defensive powers, or like you don't have any at all. But Daikaiser embodies that to me, and that's why it's so close to heart. You know, this card is just fantastic, such an amazing guy. And of course, they also brought out a new Dayusha, which is the reverse Dayusha. So he is a crossfire with regular Dayusha, and his skill is Unbreak 4, Calmas 1, lock 2-dimensional robo rear guards, and then for that turn, one of your opponent's units loses 10k power, even more than Zeal, goddamn. If an opponent's rear guard goes to 0 power, it is retired. So you can either use this, take out intercepts, and then swing into the face with the crit you got from the Daikaiser, or you can just basically do minus 10k to the opponent's Vanguard. Why would you do that? Because he says when he battles a Vanguard, when he attacks a Vanguard that has 6k power or less, he gains an extra crit. So much like how Great Dayusha gains a crit for the soul, this gains a crit if your opponent is weaker than you, if he's got minus power. It's really, really nice, very flavorful, but the card itself isn't that strong. So I already talked about this with other clans, or I guess I didn't talk about it too much with Blobs because they're kind of their own build, but with DP, the Zeal stuff is alright. Daikaiser is a must pick up, not just because of my bias, but this is going to be support in the future. Daikaiser gets a lot of support in the future as well. Like, it carries dimensional robos with itself as time goes on throughout all of G, and just, you know, keep your eyes on him. He's a really, really good card. I think Kaizard is a worthy pickup as well. It's just a rare. Diehard is also quite useful. A lot of these are just like rares in common, so it doesn't really matter too much. And then for grade 1s, of course, Diebrave. Must pick up. Like, reverse Dayusha is okay, but honestly, Great Dayusha is way better still, so you're better off if you have a Great Dayusha, just use that instead. Dayusha is still being used as well because of the buff it got to like generate random dimensional robos and stuff like that. And as you can see, later on, Daikaiser gets a cross ride, maybe even 2. Alright, enough of talking about my best buddy. Let's go to Link Joker, which suddenly became my main deck in Zero. Like, this has basically been my main deck in Zero for a while now, just because it's very nice to climb, because it has kind of like auto win matchups. A lot of people thought, oh, Chaos got nerfed too much, it's going to be so terrible in Zero, it's not going to work, like the unlock retires once per turn, it's a Counter Blast instead of Soul Blast, like how are we going to make this card work? Turns out it's still amazing, so nothing to worry about. Let's talk about the support though. So of course we have the Chaos Breaker Dragon booster. When it boosts Chaos Breaker Dragon, if your opponent has a locked card, gain 5k, 11k boosters, so self-explanatory. This is when it boosts the Vanguard. If you have more Reavers than your opponent, gain 4k. It's not really that great. Calmas 1, gain 1k. Sleep. This card is very important though, the Neon. It's a 10k attacker for Star-vader. So of course, because of the way that Chaos Breaker has been nerfed, we'll talk about that later, you run out of cards in hand very quickly. And so cards like this that attack for 10k are super important. I've made a lot of content on Chaos Breaker. I really recommend watching my deck and fight on this deck because I really know this deck super well now, and I climb with it to top 100. I've been climbing with it all the time, and it's just, honestly, I think I give pretty good advice when using this deck as well. The other triple rare that comes out in this set is the Palladium. This card is the relocker, sorry, not the unlocker. Rearguard circle at the beginning of your turn, Calmas 1, put this unit to your soul. If an opponent's rearguard was unlocked during their last end phase, you can lock that rearguard once more. So basically, if they unlocked at the end phase, you just Calmas 1, put this into the soul to lock it one more time. In the TCG, this was also soul generation, which is really nice, but for now, you don't really do anything with your soul in Chaos Breaker. But it's still a really amazing card because Calmas 1 to relock is a lot cheaper than Chaos Breaker's Calmas 1 discard 2 to lock something. Therefore, it's a really, really must-have in my opinion. You need 4 of this guy, and he will come up again in the future as well. Especially in Zero, I think this card will be good for a long time. So it's a pretty good investment in my opinion. Then we have the, if you have more Reavers than your opponent, gain 3k, but most importantly, we have a 12k attacker, which is the Radon. If you have a Star-vader Vanguard, gain plus 3k. Very important card as well. You don't want to miss this because again, especially in mirror matches, if Chaos is really popular, you're going to have your back row locked and you need to be able to still attack the Vanguard or like a 10k vanilla without boosting. Radon does the job for you, and so it's really important for that reason. And again, you always have a low card, like low hand. So sometimes you need to discard the grade 1s for the lock from Chaos Breaker. So having a card that can just attack unboosted with by its own power is really important. Finally, Colony Maker. Oh my god, this is one of the best cards ever released for this clan, period. And she was completely unchanged. When placed, if your opponent has a locked card, counterblast 1, search your deck for any grade 1 or lower Star-Vader and call it. This is fantastic. So some of those grade 1s that you generally play, right? We already looked at some of them just now, right? You know, we have the Lanthanum, which basically gains 3k every time you lock something. That's still being played. You have the 10k Attacker. You can tech that out. You can even search out the Palladium to relock something next turn. Colony Maker is going to be used in Chaos for many years to come. This card is fantastic. In my opinion, it's a must-have for the deck. It's just really good. It's so hard to make this bad when you have a +1 tutor in a deck that barely pluses. This deck barely pluses, right? Only this and like Chaos Breaker, and as we said earlier, the Deer in past videos actually manages to plus, so it's really important. Nebula Lord is still run purely because it pluses, right? But enough of that. Let's look at the grade 3s. We have the when boosted gain 3k, nothing too special. When attacks Vanguard and the attack hits, counterblast 2 and lock an opponent's rearguard. Yeah, when attacks Vanguard gain 3k, yeah, it's all right, I guess. This is the on attack, counterblast 1 gain 3k, nothing too special. This card is actually played, and so this is basically the Echo, not the Echo of Nemesis. What's that card again? This one. Knight of Entropy. Yeah, it's the Knight of Entropy with Limit Break, but it's a Star-Vader. We'll talk about why being a Star-Vader is very important, but this is Star-Vader Multiverse Dragon. Limit Break 4, when placed on Vanguard Circle, counterblast 2, lock an opponent's front row rearguard and gain 5k. This is your one-of in the deck, and it's a very important one-of, because sometimes it's the exact card you need to win. You've been sitting on Nebula Lord, you just go into this, lock their front row, and you get an extra attack. Plus he gets power, which like against some matchups like cross rides, this is super good to have. On top of that, you also have the ability to, like, you're sitting on Chaos, you don't have any other cards in hand, but your opponent has 1 intercept, no more PGs. You top deck this, go into it, shut down that intercept, and just swing. Maybe you had another attacker. You could make the point like, oh, you just swing into that intercept, they don't have PGs, blah blah, but locking is always really good. It's just a great card as a one-of, right? You barely go into it, but when you do, it really counts. And finally, goddamn Chaos Breaker, one of the most iconic cards in the entire TCG, literally crippled people. Like, this card actually just tainted people's memories. There's so much like dark history behind this card, not just because of how powerful it was in the TCG and how it warped the game around itself, but also, you know, like the playtesters that, like, you know, leaked its effect onto Twitter and got fired, and like all those things, you know, the community playtesters that did all this stuff. Like, there's so many crazy stories about this card. Every time it gets support, it's always crazy. If anything, now when it got printed in the V series, it's been the least crazy, and even then people are like, this card is amazing, no it's bad, no it's amazing, no it's bad, you know, it's always back and forth. But in Zero, they saw how amazing this card was in TCG and they nerfed it to the ground. But even when nerfed to the ground, the clown continues to laugh because this man is still an amazing card and still feels so damn satisfying to play. Limit Break 4, at the beginning of your turn, counterblast 1. If an opponent's rearguard unlocked at the end of their turn, you can retire it and draw 1. Hard ones per turn, by the way. So even if your opponent unlocks 3, you choose one of them, retire it, and draw 1. You cannot do it over and over again like you could in the TCG, where you go like, okay, Soul Blast 1, kill that one, draw 1. Soul Blast 1, kill that one, draw 1. And yes, it was Soul Blast 1 in the TCG, by the way. This is still really good. Counterblast 1 to pop something and draw is great. You typically do this on the back row rearguards that were locked by your Break Ride Infinite Zero, but even then, you can sometimes kill the front row. I play this deck a lot. You can watch my streams. I'm probably still going to be playing it even with Glendio's being out. It's just a fantastic card. I cannot stress enough what a great card this is, even with the nerfed effect. And the second effect, of course, is the basically one of the only forms of front row lock outside of the Break Grind and the Multiverse and the Knight of Entropy, which is once per turn, Vanguard Circle, counterblast 1, discard 2 Star-Vaders. You hear me? Star-Vaders. So you cannot discard this, right? You cannot discard non-Star-Vaders. You cannot discard Schwarz's Shield, which I believe is not a Star-Vader. That is correct. You have to discard Star-Vaders to choose an opponent's rearguard and lock it. This can lock front row, which is of course the main use of it. When you choose to use this effect will determine if you win or lose. I'm being completely serious here. The timing that you choose that you think you need to be using this effect at will literally determine whether you win or lose a game. Like, I'm being completely serious, because if you use it too early, that's a discard too. You lost 2 cards from hand to lock something. If you cannot retire it next turn with the limit break or relock it with the palladium, you just wasted 2 cards. That's plain and simple. Sometimes you will go into this and you just have to sit on it. Don't do anything with it. Don't touch any effect. Just swing, 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 and find the perfect timing to use it, lock it up. Optimally, you're sitting on infinite zero, so you can just like break ride, lock front row, lock back row, then use this effect to lock the front row again, do the V-lock, and you're perfect. But yeah, this card, I can go on about it for days, but Chaos Breaker is just as amazing as you'd expect it to be, even with all the nerfs. It is just absolutely fantastic, and this guy brought me to top 100 during the Luke here season, and I can't be more thankful to him. So honestly, y'all, this is an amazing set to roll. So if you've been saving your packs, you know, you cashed in on set 12, you got your Revengers, and now you're waiting on something more, this set is amazing. You can build this. Blows are really good. Tetra Drive is amazing as well. Not super amazing, but pretty good. Daikaiser is going to be amazing. Like, if you love DP, if you like DP at all, it's a great time to invest in it as well. But more so than anything else, Chaos Breaker is in this set, and Chaos Breaker will be supported for many, many, many years to come. This gets like 3 waves of support in G. Keep that in mind. I think 3, if not 4. I think it's 3. But it's so damn good. Chaos Breaker is such an amazing card, and basically the reason to pull in this set. I can't say anything else. I'm just going to keep repeating myself over and over again, so I'm just going to stop myself there, but this is a really good set. Most sets have felt really, really good, honestly, in Zero. They nerf the OP cards to a point where they feel still good, but fair, and they buff the cards that didn't get much support or love to actually be quite good as well. So I really like that about the Zero Dev team. They do a really good job with that, so huge applause to them. And once again, congratulations on reaching the 1-year anniversary. Anyway, though, on that note, thank you so much for watching. Once again, pack opening will be there tomorrow on my Twitch channel, so make sure you follow if you're not already followed, and I'll see you guys there. Anyway, that's it for today. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.